Welcome to 2019.
2019, we made it.
Yeah, it was a bit of a rough ending.
A bit of a rough ending, but I think an overall good year.
Yeah.
This year we came out with the Bad Cookie combo.
Last year, you mean?
Last year we finished filming it. This year we released it.
No, because it's 2019.
Right. Okay. Last year, 2018, Bad Cookie, very well for ourselves.
Lots of festivals, lots of traveling.
Lots of festivals, lots of traveling, lots of releases.
We made this podcast.
Yeah, you guys came aboard.
Yeah, we started making shows on our YouTube's channel.
Really fun stuff. If you get a chance, you should head on over there.
I got a cat.
You did get a cat and it scratched up your face.
Yeah, but he hasn't done that for a while, and I've pet him a couple times, so I think he's warming up to me.
Oh, that's good, because last week you said that you wanted to, eat him. That was terrible.
What? No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Why would I want to eat a cat? He's, so tiny and stringy.
You were, adamant. You were I'm going to eat him. I'm going to rip his little head off.
No, I wasn't. Dude, when was this?
Last week when I was over for...
We didn't... You weren't over last week. What? No.
Yeah, doesn't matter. What is your topic today, Ariel?
Oh, well, first off, this is BC is Creepy.
Yeah.
A podcast about creepy things that happen in BC.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm Topher Graham.
I'm Ariel Hansen. And picking up where we left off before our winter break, it was kind of a sad winter break, but it's my turn. So, today I will be talking to you about Clifford Robert Olson, Jr.
Ooh.
He was a junior.
I've heard this name before.
Yeah, I think this was actually a recommendation from my mom. So, Mama Hansen, thank you for recommending this serial killer. Yeah,
she is the killer. MVP.
MVP of topics. Oh, she also got me another book.
Sweet.
Yeah. And then also, I was given a book for Christmas that my parents don't remember buying because it's The Haunted Cotswolds, which is the part of England that my family who lives over there lives in.
Yeah.
And we've been there twice. The book is published after the trips we've had there.
Yeah.
We don't know how it got in the house.
Weird.
Yeah. Now I've got a haunted book about the haunted Cotswolds, if we ever want to take a detour to England. But anyways, so Clifford Robert Olson Jr., mostly known as Clifford Olson. His most common name in the press and everything is the Beast of BC.
Ooh.
Yeah.
I like that one.
But he's also known as the Rent-A-Car Killer because he was known for each of his killings, he'd rent a different car.
That would be so easy right now.
Yeah. Oh my god, with Car2Go?
Yeah. Hop in.
Although it can track where you started, where you ended.
Not, but you could use your victims' phones.
Well, but then you gotta download the app. Because it's not based on your phone, it's based on your account.
I'm saying
you
could target people with these accounts. And
how do you know they have the account, though?
Ask them.
That's weird.
Serial killers are weird.
True. And this is definitely one of the weird ones. So, Clifford Olson was born January 1st, 1940 in Vancouver.
Yeah.
So he was a New Year's baby.
Aww.
Kind of appropriate for getting back into the swing of the new year that we're doing.
So thematically appropriate.
Mm-hmm. He was also the oldest of 4 children. He had a younger brother and 2 younger sisters. And they all grew up near the Peony and then eventually in Richmond. And there was this housing that had been built for veterans. And because his dad at one point was in the army, they qualified for it. So they moved to Richmond. And then his dad actually later became a milkman. And then a construction worker. And then an apartment building manager.
Jack of all trades, master of
none. His mom, Leona, was a housekeeper. I think that means that she did cleaning in other people's houses rather than housewife.
That sounds...
But I'm not 100% on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's a fair use of the term.
I think so. Now, Clifford was a short, stocky kid, and he was a known bully and a petty thief growing up. It's also known that he abused animals.
Aw.
Ding, ding, ding. There's a qualifier for serial killers.
Yeah, Ariel.
I don't know what you're talking about. Seriously, dude.
It's not important.
Why are you making stuff up? Are you trying to make me look bad on here?
No, you said it like last week.
No, I didn't. Like, come on.
That's not in the podcast.
Okay, where was I? Apparently he also was bullied in school, but then he learned how to box and proceeded to go and beat up every kid who ever beat him up.
Petty.
Yeah. So after he finished grade 8, he dropped out of school and he lived with his parents until he went to prison for the first time at age 17, which was for breaking and entering, and he went to prison July 19th, 1957.
Breaking and entering. Can you go to, 17? That wouldn't be...
It's also
the 50s. You'd be tried as an adult?
Remember, it's the 50s.
Yeah.
Not now.
Hooligan. He must have been a hooligan.
Yeah. So, over the course of the next 25 years, he pretty much spent all that time, except for the equivalent of 4 years, behind bars. He had more than 90 convictions, which included obstructing justice, possession of stolen property, possession of firearms, forgery, false pretenses, fraud, parole violation, impaired driving, theft, breaking and entering and theft, armed robbery, escape from lawful custody, rape, buggery, gross indecency.
So he's like a straight-up thug.
Yeah, and he also escaped from custody 7 times.
Wow.
Yeah. Several of those times, though, he was caught by police dogs after his escape.
Oh, that's not pleasant.
No, but he kind of deserved it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I know that you started off with serial killer, and so...
Yeah, kind of gave away the
animals.
lead. Yeah. So, Clifford Olson was a con artist. He sometimes would get released for good behavior, so he'd get out of jail early. And then other times, he had his sentence extended because of his escape attempts.
Oh, man.
So, very few of the guards or fellow prisoners trusted him for very long, and eventually he started antagonizing everyone in prison.
Gosh. So, amongst being a thug, he's also like a brat.
Yeah. Oh, you trust me? When we get into later parts of this story, the brattiness, oh my god.
So, timeline that we're at now, 17 he gets picked up for the first time, and he's in prison for 20 years?
In and out of prison for 25 years, but I'm actually about to just give you a date for the next point in our timeline.
Sweet.
Yeah, because in February of 1980, he met Joan Hale, who was a short, nervous divorcee, and she had reddish-brown hair.
Aww.
So they fell in love, and they were married on May 15th, 1981, in the People's Full Gospel Chapel in Surrey.
Aw, she's gonna fix him.
And that was a month after their son Stephen was born.
Oh.
And that was also after he'd already murdered 3 girls, but no one knew about it yet.
Oh.
Yes, because now we're getting into why he's on this podcast.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So he is a serial killer who targeted both girls and boys from age 9 to 18, all within a 90-kilometer radius of Vancouver. He was active from 1980 to 1981, and it was only 9 months that he was active for. He was out of prison at the time and under mandatory supervision, but I guess that supervision wasn't very thorough.
Clearly not.
So his first victim that we know of is Christine Weller. She was 12, and she was from Surrey, British Columbia.
Oh, kids.
9 to 18, man.
I know.
I warned ya.
Oh.
So, she was abducted from her home on November 17th, 1980. Her body was found more than a month later in the woods on Christmas Day, and she'd been strangled with a belt and stabbed repeatedly. She had 10 stab wounds to the chest and abdomen, and 2 superficial slashes on the neck, and she had a double perforation of the right ventricle of the heart and 4 penetrating wounds in the liver.
Oh, man. So he just, grabbed her belt around her neck and just went to town.
Yeah.
Gosh.
Yeah. So his next victim was on April 16th, 1981. Colleen Marion Denault. I hope I'm saying that right. She was 13, and she vanished from Surrey as well. 5 months later, her body was found. She was attacked and murdered by repeated hammer blows to the head. The actual cause of death for her was 2 depressed fractures in the occipital region of the skull.
Ooh.
Yeah. So this guy's kind of like just ugh.
Brute. He's like a real brute. Oh, God.
Now, his 3rd victim before he got married. Okay, I was wrong. It wasn't 3 girls. It was 3 kids that he'd murdered before, because the next victim on April 22nd, 1981 was Darren Todd Johnsrud, who was 16, and he was abducted from a shopping mall and killed. His body was found less than 2 weeks after that, and his skull had been shattered. He got picked up in New West and driven to the Darash. That's where he was murdered again by repeated hammer blows to the head.
Oh.
The official cause of death was comminuted skull fracture with right subdural hemorrhage, left hemothorax. I didn't look up how to pronounce these medical words. So, yay!
So I just want to cycle back to that. He was picked up from New Westminster and brought to the Darash?
Yeah, so Darash is actually this like farming and railway community. It's east of Vancouver.
Yeah.
So it's kind of close to Chilliwack.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's like a really small area. It's apparently a population of like less than 150 people.
Wow.
Yeah. So next we have the murder that Clifford Olson celebrated his marriage with.
That's the way to put it.
Yep, because this one took place on May 19th, 1981.
Oh.
So like literally days after his wedding.
Yeah.
And it was 16-year-old Sandra Wolfsteiner, and she was murdered in the Chilliwack Lake area.
Mm-hmm.
She got picked up at a bus stop in Surrey, and then he drove her to a remote area on Chilliwack Lake Road where she was murdered, and again repeated hammer blows to the head.
So he starts to like this hammer.
Yeah, there were very few skeletal remains found, so the cause of death was determined to be head injuries.
Yeah.
That's the best they could do, because I guess the body decomposed a lot before they found it.
Oh.
So his next murder was of a 13-year-old. Her name was Ada Anita Court, and he murdered her in June 1981.
Oh.
And this was after she'd been babysitting.
For him?
No, just in general. She was picked up while she was walking on North Road in Coquitlam, and then he drove her to a remote area near Weaver Lake, where he murdered her with repeated hammer blows to the head. And skeletal remains with several depressed skull fractures were found after that.
Don't take rides from strangers, folks.
No.
Like...
Even if they're offering you a job, no.
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 They hammered this into us when I was a kid.
Yeah, well, I mean, remember, hitchhiking used to be totally normal.
Yeah.
Like, when my dad was a kid, he hitchhiked across Canada.
Yeah. I mean, there's still communities like Main Island where it's totally normal to hitchhike.
But everyone kind of knows everyone there,
Yeah.
so it's a bit different. So now we get to the point where he's going a little trigger happy, because over the course of July of 1981, he killed 3 people.
No.
Yeah.
Summer fun.
Yeah. You could say that. Puts a different context to that song. So the first of the 3 in July was Simon Parrington, and this is where we get the 9-year-old in his age range. Yeah. Simon was abducted, raped, and strangled on July 2nd. And this was on River Road, Nelson Avenue in Richmond.
Is this the first body with signs of sexual abuse?
I mean, it's the first on this list, but it might just be that it didn't get mentioned with the other ones. I'm not quite sure. But he got picked up 2 blocks away from his house in Surrey and given a ride. So during the course of the ride, he got taken to that remote area of Richmond. He was given a couple bottles of beer and then strangled.
Oh.
Yeah. Next was Judy Cosma, and she was a 14-year-old from New West. She as well was raped and strangled, and this was a week after what he had done to Simon. So I think that it might be possible that
it's escalated.
Yeah, it's escalated. So he wasn't raping before, but now he's raping and strangling, and I guess he wasn't getting enough of a thrill.
Yeah.
And had to up the ante.
Well, now he's doing 3 in a month, and...
Yeah. The next one was Raymond King II. He was 15, and he was abducted on July 23rd. He was also raped, but then he was bludgeoned to death rather than strangled. He was picked up at the bus depot after leaving the Manpower office in New Westminster, and then he also was driven to a remote area near Weaver Lake. Clifford threw him down an embankment and murdered him while he was unconscious with blows to the head using a rock.
Gosh.
Yeah. It was after this point that the police finally focused on Olson, and he was put under heavy surveillance, but that ceased after a short period of time because it appeared that he had nothing to hide.
Why did they decide that they should be watching him now?
I think it's probably, well, because he was already under mandatory surveillance since he was out of prison, and his comings and goings might have lined up a bit with where people had disappeared from and where bodies were being found.
Okay.
Although, we're going to get into the whole bodies being found thing later. So the next victim was Sigrun Arnd, and she was a German tourist. She was one of his oldest victims at 18 years old. She was also raped and bludgeoned. It was 2 days after Raymond King's rape and bludgeoning.
Oh, so this is like August.
Yeah, or like, might still be July, or end of July, beginning of August. Yeah, she'd been hitchhiking, and the police actually had to use dental records in order to identify her body.
Oh, man.
Yeah. She was picked up in Coquitlam and driven to a remote area of Richmond as well. So clearly he knew Richmond quite well growing up there.
Richmond, I'm guessing 81, looks very different from Richmond now.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, I remember hearing stories. It was like nothing but farm community, right?
Yeah, and then this veterans housing that had been in there apparently. But Sigrun was murdered by repeated hammer blows to the head as the previous victims had been, and then thrown into a ditch that had a bunch of water in it in order to bury her. So the cause of the death was, of course, the head injuries. Yeah. Okay, only 2 more victims to go through.
This is hard.
Yeah, trust me, this is the hardest part of this because things get weird later.
I can believe that.
Yeah. So Terri Lynn Carson, who was 15, disappeared. Actually, like, she was last seen at the same apartment complex that Christine Weller had lived in. So the very first victim is from the same apartment complex as this victim. And she was raped and strangled on July 27th. And her body was found in Lake Weaver. She got picked up on 108th Avenue at a bus stop and driven to a remote area past Chilliwack, where she was murdered by strangulation.
Whoa.
And our last victim that we know of,
yeah,
it is very possible that there are other victims that we just don't know about. But Louise Chartrand, she was 17 and she vanished while hitchhiking. She died on July 30th and was picked up walking to work in Maple Ridge. She was driven to the Whistler area where she was murdered with repeated hammer blows to the head. Her decomposed body was eventually found with evidence of massive skull fractures.
God. So he picks them up, he drives them like hours and hours away, bashes them in the head, or rapes them first, bashes them in the head.
Rapes some, I think.
Rapes some, bashes them in the head, strangles them, leaves them in a ditch.
Yeah.
Not a nice...
No.
And now we can't hitchhike. This is...
Well, we shouldn't have been hitchhiking anyways. It's illegal.
It's illegal, but, you know, we could have trusted people, Ariel.
You could have. Let's just say I don't think any girls nowadays are that trusting unless they've got other people with them.
No, because we have...
I'm scared to use Uber, let alone hitchhike.
Yeah, that's... Yeah, it's not a nice world.
Yeah. So, a part of his MO was that he would drug his victims with chloral hydrate that he'd spike in the drinks that he gave them, like pop or beer. So that's why they didn't put up a fight, because they were drugged. The entire time that he was active, he was also an avid churchgoer. And ironically, though, his livelihood was being a scam artist and a thief.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
we know from his early days. Yeah,
he kept going with it. He actually even went as far as looking for victims by posting an ad on the church bulletin board saying that he had window washing jobs for teenagers.
God.
Because that's also a part of his MOs. For some people, he'd offer them work.
Yeah.
and be like, I'm driving you to a construction site.
$15 an hour.
Oh, not that much back then. No. It would be like $1 an hour. Maybe more than that. I don't know what the 80s prices were. Apparently, he also kept trophies from his victims.
Oh, like what?
I didn't find anything about that. I didn't quite have enough time to go that deep in my research.
That's okay.
Because I was already at like 4.5 pages.
Oh, this is going to be a long one.
Yeah, because like his crimes are just the first half.
Oh man, are we about to go into some crazy territory here?
Yeah. Well, we're getting close. But one of the reasons why he like eluded police suspicion so much was because with them, they thought of him as an asset rather than a suspect, because when he was in Prince Albert Penitentiary in 1976, he was stabbed 7 times by a gang of prisoners who were angry because he betrayed them and identified some of them as drug couriers in the prison to the authorities.
Oh.
And then, also while incarcerated, he provided police with enough information to ensure the conviction of a fellow inmate who raped, mutilated, and strangled a 9-year-old girl. So
on top of
he's
everything, he's a rat.
Snitches get stitches! Literally! That proves it. But that's also why the cops didn't suspect him, because he ratted on people so often.
Oh, this is a guy, dude. This is...
Yeah, like maybe they even just didn't want to suspect him because he... Yeah.
Helped them
get
numbers, but...
Well, on August 12th, 1981, here's the good news.
Yeah.
He was arrested near Port Alberni, which is on Vancouver Island.
Yeah.
And it was on the suspicion of trying to abduct 2 female hitchhikers in his car. After the police searched his car, they found an address book belonging to Judy Cosma, and he was arrested for her murder.
Ooh.
Yes.
So now they have the beast.
Yeah. And initially, he pleaded not guilty, but on January 14th of 1982, he changed that to a guilty plea on all 11 counts. Here's why.
On all 11? Like they had him for 1 murder and they were ready to...
Here is why it's 11 counts.
Okay.
They suspected him for some of these other ones, but this is actually one of the things that makes him the most famous, is because he reached a deal with the authorities, and he agreed to confess to the 11 murders and show the cops where all the bodies were for those who had not yet been recovered, and in return, they agreed to give him $10,000 for each victim.
What?
Which was paid in a trust to his wife, and their then infant son, Clifford III.
God.
So his wife received the $100,000 after Olson cooperated, and he decided that the 11th body would be a freebie. And this deal only was revealed to the public after his sentencing had happened.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
How can they even do that?
Well, apparently, he realized that he had a real good thing going, because after the $100,000, he offered a price cut that he'd identify 20 more graves for $100,000. But the province decided that it wasn't worth it. So that's why I said maybe first victim, maybe these are all his victims. We don't know, because he claimed to have more.
Like 31 victims.
Possibly. Yeah. And now the judge gave Olson 11 concurrent life sentences and recommended that he never be released. Initially, he was sent to the Kingston Penitentiary. So now things are going to keep getting weird.
He escaped incarceration...
In the past.
In
1992, after complaining about back pain, Olson was sent to get some x-rays at a hospital in Kingston. When the technicians x-rayed him, they found a key to some handcuffs stolen from a prison guard tucked up in his rectum. So that escape attempt was very, very thwarted, and so he was transferred.
How did he not think that was going to...
I know. But he got transferred to the Special Handling Unit in the Maximum Security Federal Penitentiary in Prince Albert, Saskatchewan. So, sticking keys up your butt.
Maximum security.
Yep.
Thank God.
Yeah. So then eventually the Saskatchewan facility got closed down in the summer of 1997, and he was transferred back east to the Super Maximum Security Special Handling Unit in Saint-Anne-des-Plaines. I did not take French in high school, so that's north of Montreal in Quebec.
Ah.
In 1997, he was denied parole, which he applied for under Canada's Faint Hope Clause. Yup.
Faint hope clause.
There's a faint hope you could get it. That's a clause which allowed a parole hearing for convicts who had served at least 15 years. So, Olson's second parole hearing on July 18th, 2006 was also denied. Partially, well, not partially, because it probably would have been denied without this.
Yeah.
But during the hearing, he made some really weird claims, which included that the United States had granted him clemency for providing information about the September 11th attacks, and that the hearing had no jurisdiction over him because of that. Then, under Canadian law, Olson was entitled to make a case for parole every 2 years after that.
I mean, he's gonna get there. They're gonna see that he killed kids, and he's gonna go away again.
Yep.
Hopefully.
Well, he also, while in prison, loved to toy with the police and journalists, promising them details on unsolved crimes in return for privileges and media coverage. He would also submit poems and stories to literary contests, and, of course, the organizers would receive these submissions and be horrified.
Yeah.
And he used his manipulative, narcissistic personality and quasi-knowledge of the law to taunt the lawyers and the families of his victims.
Well, I mean, he's got a lifetime.
Yeah, he's got
very little to do.
Yeah, which includes some of his really weird legal submissions, like claiming that being denied a solid pleasure, life-sized, revolutionary, not inflated sex doll and the installation of a plexiglass to line the front of his cell to protect him from other inmates amounted to cruel and unusual punishment and thereby contravened the Charter of Human Rights.
Maybe?
No one is owed a sex doll. No one. Especially a solid pleasure, life-size, revolutionary, not inflated sex doll.
No, I guess not.
No.
Use your hand, buddy.
Yeah. You don't need 20 pounds of pussy and ass.
That's hilarious.
So, while, he's done all this crazy stuff that's made the families of the victims' lives even worse than just having their children taken away from them on this deathly manner, meandering. Ooh. His crimes did cause some reform to the criminal justice system in Canada.
So that we don't have hooliganism in the courts.
Yeah, because, he would, make faces at the families and stuff, and creepy smiles, all that. But it also gave rise to the Victims of Violence movement, their representation at trials and parole hearings, and the establishment of a missing children's registry. His constant demands for parole led to an amendment of the criminal code that barred multiple murderers from applying for early parole under that faint hope clause. So, no faint hope for serial killers.
Yeah. Because he was a pest.
Yeah.
I like it.
And then, in March 2010, he got back into the media spotlight.
Oh, man.
Because it was disclosed that he was receiving 2 federal government benefits from Canada while imprisoned, which totaled to around $1,169 a month.
Oh.
Yeah. Because he was eligible to receive the Canadian Old Age Security Pension, which all people that meet certain residency requirements within Canada are eligible to receive once they hit 65. And he also was eligible to receive the Guaranteed Income Supplement awarded to pensioners with low income. And all of that money was being held in a trust for him.
Just holding on to money, even though he's never going to be able to get out and spend it.
Yeah, well, the Canadian Taxpayers Federation, after all this media coverage, testified before a federal standing, the Committee for Human Resources Development. The members of Parliament eventually passed Bill C-31, which would terminate pension benefits for prisoners while they were in prison.
That makes sense.
Yeah, so it makes a lot of sense not to...
Although...
I mean, I feel like it should depend on...
the crime.
Yeah, and what their sentence is.
Because let's say you get out of prison, you're 80 years old.
You're gonna need something to take care of you.
Yeah, Yeah, let's...
Yeah, it could be it should be a case-by-case thing, but...
This was the he ruined it for everyone.
He ruined it for everyone, and also it was the conservatives in power at the time, so...
Yeah.
Very hard on criminal justice and stuff. So, in September of 2010, after Bill C-31 passed, Olson sent one of his old age security checks to a Sun media reporter named Peter Worthington with a note. And the note asked him to forward the check to Stephen Harper's campaign for re-election.
Oh, now I'm really pissed. God.
Yeah. Apparently, he has scored a 38 out of 40 on the psychopathy checklist.
Clearly.
Yep. But I got some really good news for you.
What is that?
On October 2nd, 2011...
Died.
In prison.
Nice.
Of cancer.
Nice.
So he's dead. He's gone.
Good riddance.
Yes.
What a jackass. Man, 2011 doesn't even feel like that long ago, but that's 8 years ago.
Yeah, beginning of 2011 was 8 years ago. I've been in Vancouver for 8 years in September.
Yeah, 2011 was when I came to Vancouver. Yeah, I know. We did it.
8 years. So, I had 3 sources for this. I found more information, but I didn't get a chance to check those websites out. Because by the time I had information from those 3 sources, it was getting long enough. And...
I feel like we got a pretty solid story out of this.
Yeah. So, the 3 main sources, Wikipedia, didn't have the most information, but, always a good timeline. Yeah. There was a really good article from the Globe and Mail.
Ooh.
And then the Murderpedia page on him. It had all sorts of different articles on it. So I didn't even end up fully reading all of them, but I was able to get more information to fill things out a bit more. So that is
the Beast of BC.
Yeah, the rent-a-car killer Clifford Olson.
Jackass.
Yeah.
What a jerk.
Yeah.
So, by the time this comes out,
we'll have gotten back.
We'll have gotten back from Portland.
Yeah, we're heading back to PD Extreme. And then the next screening that we'll be having is in Berlin.
Ooh, Final Girls?
Final Girls. Nepenthes will be playing there. I believe the fest runs from the 31st of January to about the 3rd of February, I want to say.
Wicked.
Yeah. So if you are in Germany, I'm talking to you, Anna. Go see it in Berlin.
Please.
Yeah. If you want to send us any ideas for future episodes, I would suggest emailing us, badcookiepictures@gmail.com.
You can also find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Pinterest, Patreon, our website, and YouTube and Vimeo.
But also, if you become a patron on Patreon, that is a bit of a tongue twister, then you will get a shout out on this podcast, as well as some other neat perks. We actually just did our first ever giveaway for our patrons, and the winner received a Blu-ray of the Bad Cookie Combo, as well as a batch of home-baked cookies.
Excellent. So, yeah, support our Patreon. Even $1 gets you access to everything, right?
Yeah, even, we've got a Discord channel for it all, so you can chat at us and with us.
You can get access to exclusive content.
Yeah, we've been starting to put out some patron-only content, so yeah, definitely get in on that.
And lastly, I think we should talk about our new releases.
Oh yeah, because Paint the Town Red is now out on YouTube.
That was a really fun release. I'm glad that some of you came and chatted with us.
Yeah, we tried that new YouTube premiere function, and it was fun.
Do you want to take that one again?
No.
Yeah.
And then also, Tune In for Murder is now live.
Our 360 murder mystery.
Yeah, so you can go on there and check that out.
If you have goggles, or even goggles are really cheap right now at Google Cardboard, you can watch both of these with your phone.
You can't watch Paint the Town Red with...
Oh, no, sorry.
No.
We have 2 experiences on our YouTube pages. Tune In for Murder is the newest one. And a little earlier, we released Relaxing Rituals ASMR. But both of these you can use with a headset, or if you just want to get an idea of the plot, listen to the dialogue, you can also use your mouse to scroll. So don't be afraid of 360.
Mm-hmm.
It's accessible for everybody.
Also, that just reminds me of that of what happened to me over December. Early in December, I got one of those things in my mailbox saying that there was a package waiting for me at the post office. So I went and picked it up. No return address on the outside of the package. So I'm thinking, oh, maybe they put their name inside of it or something. Open it up. No, there was a Christmas card in it that just said Happy Holidays on the inside and nothing else. And then there was this cylinder wrapped in Disney princess wrapping paper. I am assuming that they were making fun of my name being Ariel.
Oh, Ariel, you're going to be on one of these episodes.
Yeah. So I got really worried because I was pretty convinced that it was going to be a bomb.
Oh, no.
I wish I had a friend with access to an x-ray machine so I could have checked first. But I opened it when I got back to Vancouver on the 1st.
And what was it, Ariel?
It was a 360 camera. Oh, and the way the address was written, too, it was Ariel Hansen. Underneath it said Bad Cookie Pictures. So now we've got 2 360 cameras.
And one of you out there is a really good fan.
Yeah. We've got a super fan out there. So whoever you are, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, that's incredible.
And also, you know what you should do?
Let us know who you are.
And stay creepy.
Yeah. Stay creepy, sure.
Because that's a pretty creepy way to send someone a gift.
But it was great. We're very grateful. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right, PC. I think you can take a lesson from this guy. And also, stay creepy.